It's Mario, and he's paper?
What? What?
Hey guys, it's been around 6 months since the Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door remake was revealed. It's kinda crazy how that was our last standard Nintendo Direct too, but I'm sure they're just holding out on us for a soon-to-be Switch 2 announcement, right? So due to the lack of any direct since then, any new gameplay related to this game as well as its release date would be sprinkled about here and there on Twitter or shadow dropped on Nintendo's YouTube channels without the same build-up as a direct announcement would have. Not trying to imply that's a bad thing per se, because even with the lack of a direct since September, the hype for this game is still there. Pre-orders on Amazon were sold out at one point, so people are definitely showing out. Though said gameplay that was being shown prior to recently wasn't showing off a ton of new stuff, to be honest. A lot of it was either footage from the original trailer, extended footage from those same scenes from the original trailer, or still screenshots showing off the new environments. Well, over the course of the past couple days, there's been tons of new gameplay previews for this game, and my god, the hype is really starting to set in for me now. I was excited before, but now it's just elevated to the 9th degree. So I wanted to take this video to talk about some of the aspects I'm most looking forward to experiencing with this remake, with maybe a small pinch of things that have me a little worried. Hopefully too many people won't freak the fuck out on that topic when it comes up. Firstly, the visuals. Obviously, even from the reveal trailer, we were able to get a pretty good idea of how much the visuals for this game were improving. The devs seemed to be taking a lot of inspiration from both Color Splash and Origami King when it came to reimagining a lot of Thousand Year Door set pieces, leaning into places being a lot more cardboard looking to make it feel more like a paper world. The original game already had a bit of that going on, which is why I never really understood why some Paper Mario fans had this weird fixation about disliking the more paperistic environments with Sticker Star, Color Splash, and Origami King. Like, okay, I can understand if some of the paper-related jokes with the NPCs got annoying or whatever, but are we gonna sit here and pretend that all those cursed chest power-ups didn't have Mario's body molding into something, or whenever a button was hit, the environment would unfold itself like a pop-up book? But I digress. Bottom line is, this change in art style was something I always appreciated about the more modern Paper Marios, so to see it incorporated here is perfectly acceptable to me. It's not just the cardboard effects though. The lighting and or shading of these areas looks so good now. It really adds to the already solid immersion the original had. The original already had some good colors, but it was one of those things where Mario, his partners, and pretty much all the other NPCs' color palettes were almost never really affected by the different lit environments. Like Mario would have his same default color scheme in Twilight Town, just like Keelhaul Key or Boggly Woods. The remake completely changes this to make the characters in said world feel like they fit more naturally into whatever specific environment they're in. If Mario is in the Rogueport sewers, he's got a darker shade to his body to match with him being underground and very little sunlight getting through the area. Compare that to the likes of Petalburg or Petal Meadows, and it looks like he's a lot brighter than normal, fitting for a meadowy area where the sun is shining constantly. It's the best kind of eye candy to me. The way the characters talk now are way more unique. The original had almost every single NPC using the same sound effect whenever they would talk. Now it's leaned more into using small sound bites of how the creatures these characters were based off of sounded in previous Mario games, like Goombas having that tweet tweet kind of sound, or Thwomps grunting. Thwomp grunts are definitely my favorite. Now, for the music. Music in game remakes would always make me nervous prior to releasing of said games because I wouldn't want to listen to a soundtrack that feels like a downgrade to the original. That was mostly the case for the Mario and Luigi remakes of Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story on the 3DS. The vast majority of songs for those games just didn't hit the same for me as the originals did. I remember hearing the Popple and Rookie remix for the first time and was not very happy. That skepticism was still there a little bit in my heart, despite me absolutely falling in love with Petal Meadows remix from the first trailer. Well, those worries have been completely squandered now. Not only did these remixes sound great, but they've added more of an original flair to it to make it stand out more as its own song. The Glitzville Outside theme feels like a perfect example of this. The new theme has a more chill vibe to it, using what appears to be an Arhu to match with the outside of the Glitz Pit looking like a Chinese temple, while still keeping the feeling of Glitzville being a hotspot for tourists to enjoy vacations at. Kind of like an amusement park. Hearing electric guitar used in songs like Hooktail's pre-battle theme had me cheesing ear to ear. Wouldn't surprise me if they got Origami King's composer Hiroki Morishita on here. I bet that motherfucker loves rock music more than I do. Without a doubt, most looking forward to hearing Dupless and Rockhawk's themes. I'd argue those two had the most notable themes from the original, so I'm expecting the remixes to be certified bangers. Though I'd argue the best change coming to the soundtrack is how it's being used in standard battles in the various areas of the game. Each area has its own unique remix of the main battle theme that plays off the vibe of the Bay Area. This was another thing Origami King did, and it did a very good job at it, so it's great to see it used here. Like the Hooktail Castle standard battle theme has a medieval kind of feel to it, while Glitzville's is super hardcore metal to match with the feeling of a wrestling arena being a super intense environment for both the viewers and the participants. Even if you're one of those people who, for whatever reason, doesn't fuck with the new soundtrack, that's all good too, because just like what the Mario RPG remake did, Thousand Year Door now has an option via a badge shaped like a GameCube that will make everything from the soundtrack to the sound effects sound just like the GameCube version, which is a good way to segue into the next topic of discussion, new content for the remake. Now, back when the game was first announced, I made a bit of a hopium list on what I'd like to see added to the remake. Now, looking back on it, I was being a bit too hopeful with some of those, but it's all good. The big new additions seem to be new badges, a gallery of art showcasing concept art for both the GameCube version and the remake, and all the different songs from the entire game playable at your disposal in the main menu, with other stuff being more focused on quality of life. For example, the quick change partner option outside of combat. It was always a pain in the ass to sift through the menu every time to switch between partners, so this being added is an objectively good thing. Fast travel within the actual areas of the game seemed to be an addition as well, like this green pipe inside Hooktail's castle that wasn't there before. A lot of Paper Mario fans have had issues with the backtracking of this game, and rightfully so, to be honest. Areas like Twilight Town especially suffered from this the most, so if this is something that'll be easier to deal with in every single main area of the game, the backtracking will be much less of a pressing issue, no doubt. A couple new NPCs were added, named the Battlemaster and Ian Fumus. Oh, that's funny. Okay, yeah. Who exist to help more novice players get accustomed to the game's formula. As a Paper Mario veteran, I definitely don't need this because the game is already pretty damn easy as is, but I totally respect the option being there for who I assume is the younger audience. Younger kids who never experienced the first two Paper Mario games could get some good use out of these options for sure if they're struggling to adapt. To circle back to the fast travel thing, I have seen this one area floating around online where a completely new room in Rogueport sewers has several blue pipes in a circle. In my head, this is one of two things. Either the locations of the original blue pipe shortcuts that were located in different hallways now exist in one big room together to make fast travel to different areas more convenient, or we could go the crackpot route and think of the possibility of these pipes leading to different boss rematches, each for the 7 Crystal Star areas since there's 7 pipe places. I like that reality more, let's do that. But even if that's not the case, having all the fast travel points closer to each other will make going to different areas where you might have missed something more convenient. But most importantly, veteran players won't feel like jumping off a bridge doing the general white goose chase again. Now, for the one concerning thing, most people seem to agree the only downside to this game is the decrease in frame rate from 60 to 30. It's a totally valid criticism because why should a remake of a game that was made 20 years after the original have a worse frame rate with all the improved technology we have? It's actually true though, like if they can make it 60 FPS in 2004, why can't they make it 60 FPS now? I've said before that 30 FPS gameplay doesn't usually bother me too much as long as the rate is able to stay consistent enough. This was something that had me worried about the battle system in particular because with how the regular guarding and especially super guarding system worked before, there was the fear of the super guard window being much more of a pain to deal with the frame rate being cut in half. Though based on the different previews of battles we've seen over the past 2 days, it seems like the devs made the windows for inputs a lot more forgiving, which in turn compensates for the decreased frame rate. Even still, I just don't want certain cutscenes to potentially be sore in the eyes now because of this. If I'm wrong though, great, I will hold the L on my worries with pride. All in all, I really pray for the success of this game, I really do. The original sold just under 2 million, so if the remake could sell over 2 million or even outsell Origami King, which is the second most sold game in the series right now, just under 3.5 mil, one can only hope those numbers will be enough to show Nintendo these are what the majority of Paper Mario fans want to see going forward. The fact that this remake even exists makes me think Nintendo is actually listening to at least some degree, because in theory, they could have just remade Sticker Star. That game outsold Thousand Year Door initially, and Nintendo has no problems remaking 3DS games on Switch now. I mean, hell, we're getting Luigi's Mansion 2 just a month after the Thousand Year Door comes out. We just gotta come together and support this game as best we can at this point. If some folks don't want to play it because of the FPS thing and just emulate it instead, that's one thing I can understand, I guess. I'm not someone who's against emulation. However, those same people are not allowed to get mad if we get a reality where future Paper Mario titles go back to the action-adventure format due to the lack of sales on the remake. At that point, you're just part of the problem. I'm sorry, you just are. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that though, and we see this game pop off and the next original Paper Mario title can work off of Thousand Year Door's formula. Maybe even turn out to be a better game than it. Only time will tell.